Hey, this is Matt. Once again, we're about to send out videos. The paid request this time for Eelco. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for The White Buffalo, a 1977 film starring Charles Bronson. And it's directed by J. Lee Thompson. Now, I think J. Lee Thompson had directed a film with Bronson before. I believe it was St. Ives. But he's definitely the director that Bronson would work with the most when he got into the 80s. Because really the two of them did some of Bronson's best films. 10 to Midnight, Evil That Men Do, I think Murphy's Law. J. Lee Thompson also directed Firewalker, my favorite Chuck Norris film. Rest in peace, Louis Gossett Jr., who was in that. And The White Buffalo is one of those that when I first saw it, I hated it. I'll explain why. Watch it again, I don't mind it. It's not my favorite Bronson film, but I don't mind it. It's a decent Bronson film. It's just, I think it has its good merits, but I think it's very lacking as a creature feature, which, when you look at the poster, which is a very cool looking poster, and you look at the trailer, you're expecting more Jaws or that type of movie, and it's a little bit of that, but maybe not as much as you would think. But you got Charles Bronson as Wild Bill Hickok. You got Will Sampson from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Juicy Fruit, and Poltergeist 2 as Crazy Horse. You got people of Jack Warden, Slim Pitt, and Jack Warden, he was in Problem Child 1 and 2. I think he was Big Bill, was that his name? I think he was John Ritter's dad in those films. It's been a while since I've seen those, but yeah, Jack Warden's been in a lot of stuff. John Carradine, who's in like 100 movies, he has a bit part. Slim Pickens has a bit part as a carriage driver. Stuart Whitman, spent a lot of stuff, he has a bit part. Kim Novak from Vertigo, she's in it for a little bit. And pretty much Charles Bronson, as Wild Bill Hickok, keeps having nightmares of this giant white buffalo. Now, why is he having these nightmares? I don't know. The movie never really explains that. He just is. I usually say maybe it's an omen for his impending death, but at the same time, obviously he doesn't die here. He died later. But again, it's never explained why he's having these visions, why is he having these dreams, what led him to here. I guess the movie's like, who cares? Whatever. Meanwhile, Will Sampson, before he goes back to his tribe, the White Buffalo comes in and just annihilates the whole tribe, or a good chunk of them. Crashes through, and people are flying around, and heads are getting bashed, and you see that it's like, not stabbing, but kind of gutting people, as much blood as they get away with in this time period. Now, the White Buffalo itself, it is done, of course, practically. It is not the most realistic looking thing. It is not realistic if I learn how to talk. So, just don't bother with the way this thing looks. But at the same time, being a fan of practical effects, I kind of enjoy it, even though it's clunky looking. There are times it's kind of galloping and seems more like a ride you would see, animatronic ride at Disneyland or something. So, but there was a charm to it, but it's not the most realistic looking thing. But like I said, we were practical and what they had with the technology at this time period. I got some fun out of it, but some people may be like, "What the hell?" But if you watch the trailer, it shows it. So if you're fine within the trailer, you'll be fine within the movie. If not, then it's not going to get any better. And then there's like a lot of moments where you don't really see the buffalo. It's not really about the buffalo. It's kind of other stuff happening. Because Will Sampson comes in and finds out a lot of his tribe has been killed. A very young baby's been killed. He freaks out about that, and an elder or like pretty much calls him, "Stop being a pussy. You're too much of a pussy. You're not Crazy Horse anymore. You're a worm." I'm like, wow, what a dick. A baby got killed. Cut him some slack. Biatch. Crazy. Will Sampson should punch that guy in the face. I don't care if he's an elder. That means he's slower. He won't be as fast. He won't see it coming. Tomahawked it up his ass, but no. So now he's on the hunt for this buffalo. I liked Will Sampson, but I wasn't big on his performance in this. I think because, unlike One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Poltergeist 2, well, in one he barely talked. In the other, he was much more natural. He was much more softer. I think Will would have worked better if a lot more of his performance was softer. But it's like he was told to be much more bigger, much more broad in his statements and the way we talked back in the day, the way the Native Americans talked back in the day and talked. It just felt more stilted. And I know he's a better actor than that. So I like Will Sampson. I like that he's in it, but at the same time, I wish it was a bit more of a more subtle performance. You know, Charles Bronson is fine. He does his Bronson thing. I mean, you either like Charles Bronson or you don't. He has a similar acting style that he would have in various films throughout the 80s. Death Wish sequels, things of that nature. But I like Charles Bronson. I didn't grow with him like other people. Probably the one I grew up with was Death Wish 3. A lot of the other ones I saw much later. I grew up more with Stallone, Van Damme, Schwarzenegger, even Clint Eastwood, Bruce Willis. Charles Bronson I saw later in life. But I still like, again, Death Wish 3, Death Wish 2, Death Wish 4, Evil That Men Do, 10 to Midnight, etc. And there's a little bit of action here and there. Like, there's a bit where these guys mess with Bronson, and the bartender actually helps out, keeps shoving guns towards them, and Bronson kills all the guys in the bar. Later on, there's another bar room confrontation where I want to say it's Clint Walker is the actor's name. They're kind of messing with people in the bar and messing with Bronson and his buddy Jack Warden. And they kind of defend themselves, and Bronson kills 2 people. Boom, boom. And people are like, oh my god, he can't believe he did that. And then they find out his real identity, Wild Bill Hickok. There's a bit where little lovey-dovey stuff between Bronson and Kim Novak, where they're getting to know each other again. It's been many years. And there's a point where Bronson has a nightmare, and she's, of course, scared as he starts shooting. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And then they kind of go their separate ways and say goodbye. So that's what I mean. There are moments of you're sitting there going, is this about the white buffalo? Or what the hell's going on? Where's the white buffalo? What's going on here? Where's the creature at hand? Does you think it's going to cut away to the white buffalo, then like killing random people? And oh, when I saw the trailer and when I saw the poster, I thought it was going to be, maybe it's more cliche, but this small town is besieged by this great white buffalo, and Bronson and Will Sampson converge on this town for different reasons. Will Sampson for revenge, Wild Bill, okay, he's having these nightmares, or maybe even be for a bit of money. And then they don't want to work together, but they start working together. And more people in the town get killed, and it's rampaging through buildings or something like that. I mean, hell, I got more of that in The Car, a 70s film with James Brolin, where the car is like terrorizing the town and smashing through buildings. I'm like, you have that, but it's the buffalo instead of the car. No, it's not the case. Like I said, it's few and far in between. It's more about, I think, either Bronson having a couple barroom shootouts, or he's in a carriage in the snow where Crazy Horse kills some of the people there. Dan Bronson meeting Jack Warden, who's an old friend. Lovey-dovey stuff between him and Tim Novak. Another barroom, like I said, tavern kerfluffle with Clint Walker and his gang. Bronson and Crazy Horse meet at the end, where Charles Bronson helps Crazy Horse against rival Native Americans. And then later on, Crazy Horse returns the favor when those cowboys, Clint Walker's gang, converge on Bronson, and Crazy Horse helps with bow and arrows. And it's not until like the last 15-20 minutes where we're finally back to the White Buffalo at hand. There's kind of all this other stuff happening in between. And again, that's not what I expected, and there's good aspects to it. There are moments with the snow that does have a dream quality to it. Especially in the final confrontation where when Bronson, you see the fear in his eyes. Because like this is the place in his dreams. And at one point they think they got it, they think they steer it off, and Bronson and Crazy Horse are walking. And it's like the quiet before the storm and the snow landscape. It has a dream aura quality to it, which I like. And you hear this rumbling, and it crashes through the snow, and Bronson turns, and Kara pushes on him, and Will Sampson turns or pushes on him. Like, J. Lee Thompson, I thought, did an effective job directing those portions. And once all there's a piece of dialogue trying to be that old school, like how people talk back to the day. Your mouth wasn't made for breaking wind. Or, I swear I didn't do anything. Yeah, you'll swear yourself into hell. That's probably my favorite line, Charles Bronson, because that's during the second barroom kerfluffle, where again the owner's like, I swear I didn't say anything. I didn't tell you your real name. I swear. You swear? You'll swear yourself into hell. That's a good Bronson line. Like I say, even before the final confrontation, there's a nice bit of calm before the storm, before the buffalo shows up, where again Bronson's looking around this winter landscape, and again you see a bit of the fear, the anxiety. And for what they had to work with this buffalo, it's kind of a fun finale, kinda. Crazy Horse gets on the back, stabbing the hell out of it. Bronson getting the final shots on it. Oh, that's funny because it's a 6-shooter, but he shoots like 7 or 8 times. Now, if he had like 2 guns, that would make sense, but he gets 1 gun. He's like, okay, it's 6, now it's 7, now it's 8. It's like 7 or 8 shots in a 6-shooter, but that's a common mistake a lot of these movies do. And then, spoiler, like, it tries to be a bit of a somber take on a tale, where the two say goodbye, Bronson and Crazy Horse, but at the same time Crazy Horse mentions, we're friends now, but I hope we never see each other again. Just if we do see each other again, then it's back to where it was, where we started. And then he walks away and Bronson's standing there, and it cuts to Charles Bronson and Will Sampson, Wild Bill and Crazy Horse, and it shows the date they died, which I think one was like a year later and one was like 2 years later, or something like that. So it definitely brings a somber tone to the proceedings, which I guess was its purpose. And I think that's the bit of it where you kind of sit there going, the director, I think, said he wanted this to be like Moby Dick. But from what I understand, there was an actual reason why Moby Dick wanted this whale so bad. Here it's just Bronson having these dreams for whatever reason. And it's trying to be some deeper theme of Wild Bill. Maybe it would work better. There's some bit deeper thoughts of should I have gone this way in life? Should I have gone a different direction? Should I have not gone the way of the gunfighter? Should I have met a wife? Should I have had kids? Maybe he's looking at a woman with kids and think about the road less traveled. Maybe there's the bare hints of it from time to time, but not enough to, I think, really give it a deeper stature that it seems like it wants to be. And if you're going for action, there's very little action. Again, I would say the 2 barroom shootouts, which is not like big shoutouts, it's more kind of 30 seconds of Bronson shooting people. There's really no fisticuffs. There's those 2. There's, of course, the bit at the end, before the bit where Crazy Horse is helping Bronson, before that when Bronson's helping Crazy Horse. So, there's a couple little bits here and there. But you're not going to these westerns expecting John Woo or anything. But yeah, there just wasn't enough of the white buffalo itself. I mean, I know you say, well, Jaws, you don't see a lot of the shark. A lot of times because the shark isn't working. But you still felt its presence throughout. Whether it be, okay, the killing at the beginning, and it killing this boy, finding the remains of the victim before that, getting the shark expert, Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider going out there and finding the head, and that jump scare, Richard Dreyfuss like, ooh. Then the whole last 40 minutes is about chasing this thing, first and foremost. And you have those 3 characters. Here, you do have 3 characters chasing this thing, but it's not nearly as dynamic in terms of the dialogue or the interactions between the 3 of them. I always thought it was a bit weird. Maybe this is how they did back in the day, so they're being truthful to that. But there are times where Charles Bronson and Will Sampson, they're talking to each other, but they're talking clearly in English, as if they both understand each other, but then they're also doing sign language. Like, they're talking, and they're doing this, and then Will Sampson's speaking English and doing the same thing. I'm sitting there going, I guess it's just how it was back in the day, but you're talking English, you're talking English. That means you both understand each other. You don't need to do this. Just say the words. But again, maybe that's just how it was done back in the day, and I don't know for certain. But I said, when I first saw it, I'm like, well, there's not a lot of the white buffalo like it is on the poster in the trailers. Not much of a carnage or mayhem you saw from it, except the very beginning. More in-depth, like the character development of Wild Bill Hickok. Sort of maybe his history of what made him having these visions, what made him having these dreams. Maybe a bit of depth of regrets. Kind of like a precursor to Unforgiven. But then mixed in with this creature fear, maybe that could have been interesting. Maybe that's what the director thought he was going for. There's sort of these deep undertones of Wild Bill Hickok, knowing he's at the end of his journey and kind of contemplating his life choices. But if that's what the purpose was, I don't think it was done as well, or as, again, the matter of depth that they were going for. But do I think it's a bad film? No, I do think cinematography, including when it starts snowing, like I said, to repeat myself, there's a nice dream quality that I appreciated. Not a lot of familiar faces, like Slim Pickens as the guy driving the carriage for Bronson's character. He's there for a little bit, like I said, John Carradine. He's a guy, like, he's leaving town, he has a couple lines. Like I said, Bronson does fine, but was playing a version of himself. Jack Warden, he's having a little bit of fun for the role as a guy who really hates Indians. And he's a bit unsure why Bronson's being so nice to this one, but he's going along with it. And then by the end, he, like, leaves his friendship. Like, fine, I won't shoot this Indian, but the fact that you're gung-ho about him, we're done. and leaves at the end. So that was like made it a little bit different, change of pace. That doesn't really happen often with these type of movies. At least in the finale and stuff. So if you're a Charles Bronson fan, it's definitely worth a look. But it definitely would not be my favorite category. Like I said, Death Wish 3 is my favorite, but I would put The Evil That Men Do, 10 to Midnight, Murphy's Law. I'd probably put Death Wish 4 above this, Death Wish 2 above this. But, you know, is it bad? No, but I thought it could have been a lot better. I kind of wish it was more like Grizzly, Jaws, those type of films. I guess being a either creature feature or killer animal, like that type of... I like those type of films a lot. I wish it was more of that, but it feels like this movie's fighting that sentiment. Some people like it for that. To me, I thought that was the most disappointing thing in the movie. But, I mean... But I didn't hate the film. I hated when I first saw it, but now that I know a little bit what I'm getting into, I found a few more merits to it, but... You know... Don't love it, but I don't hate it. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.